His Imperial Majesty speaking on UMOJA, unity, which we call Khibret or Andnet, unity and brotherhood, Wendemamachinet. His Imperial Majesty Qedamawi, Haile Selassie the first, Haile Selassie speaking on the first principle of KWANZAA, UMOJA, or unity. He says the following: whenever there is African blood, there is a basis for greater unity, for greater UMOJA. The example of the developed countries aptly proves the truth of the proverb, unity is strength. UMOJA is strength. Our greatest asset is our unity, and we must exploit it to the fullest. People of a country who have fought incessantly for their independence understand that unity is the foundation of liberty. The joining together in a unified effort to overcome the perils of nature and the dangers which beset man on all sides is the very basis of society, and the way in which humanity, since the dawn of history, has assured its survival. We must remember that many states that today represent the major powers of the world were once weak, were once prey to other major forces. But, however, through the process of assimilation, through the process of the realization of fundamental national interests, and through the process of combination that they have achieved, they have become the major powers. When a solid foundation is laid, if the mason is able and his materials good, a strong house can be built. Africa must speak with one voice, ringing out in powerful and harmonious tones. We are determined to create a union of Africans. In a very real sense, our continent is unmade. It still awaits creation and its creators. It is our duty and privilege to rouse the slumbering giant of Africa, not to the nationalism of Europe of the 19th century, not to regional consciousness, but to the vision of a single African brotherhood bending its unified efforts towards the achievement of a greater and nobler goal. Because the African peoples are dedicated to the cause of the maintenance of peace, because the African people are determined that there should be the material progress for their people, and because the African people believe in the essential precepts of democracy, these are the foundations of the organization of African unity. The fact that we succeeded in laying the foundation of our unity was due primarily to the desire of all Africans to unite in a common struggle against colonialism, poverty, disease, and ignorance, which are enemies of Africa. The nations of the world are today interdependent in such a way that the suffering or privation of any one is in greater or lesser measure a stricture on all others. 10 years ago, when Mussolini's Italy attacked our empire, the masses of the world, even we would hazard most individual members of the League of Nations, were in the fullest sympathy with us. But in the end, delay, discussions, and considerations of the world prevailed. Help did not come. We can appreciate that true idealism may have lain behind those policies, now indeed regretted by the world, and now admitted as disastrous, of, quote, peace at any price, end quote, and of, quote, appeasement, end quote. Nevertheless, we pray that unity and the strength behind the unity which failed before will never lack again among the councils of the world. In our age, man has replaced his individualistic attitude by a larger cause, namely the good of society. Men have started to think in terms of their fellow men, their country, and the world community. All must strive unceasingly to further these simple and yet fundamental principles and ideals, so that there shall be a better tomorrow for generations to come. Each of us depends on the other, can learn from the other, and in pursuing his own destiny will go further and succeed more quickly with others. Influences abound which will not hesitate to divide us, to pit us one against the other, and to stir up disharmony and suspicion where only brotherhood and confidence should be found. We have seen in the Congo the tragic consequences which follow when, within the confines of a single state, men who have been deprived of the concept of nation, whose horizons have been limited to the confines of their family relationships, are stirred up one against the other. Is Africa really fragmented? And has independence been achieved on this great continent only to see the African nations themselves transform differences into division? And are such divisions as already exist imposed on us by history and circumstance to be widened and deepened by our own efforts? Countries where the people and the entire country have lost unity, spiritual or otherwise, have become playgrounds and laughing stocks of outsiders. Nobody knows better than we Africans that the policy of divide and rule is the aspiration of those who seek to benefit at others' expense. An age-old technique which we may expect to encounter again and again in our struggle to attain independence, in fact as well as in name, is summed up in the maxim, quote, divide and conquer, end quote, divide et impera. The best chance for one country to attack another comes through noting the divisions of its people within. It is a sound tactic of military strategy to attack where your opponent's defense is weakest. It is surely sound strategy for all of us to move ahead where such movement is unobstructed and unimpeded. His Imperial Majesty speaking on UMOJA, unity, which we call Khibret or Andnet, unity and brotherhood, Wenda Mamachnet. His Imperial Majesty Qedamawi, Haile Selassie I